Good morning. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Stokastic.com MLB strategy show. 12 game action on a Tuesday. Yeah, we got it today. It's a good one. Some monster slates. You got 2 NBA games as well, some NHL games. It's a good day to be playing DFS, then betting on top of that. Trying to jam as many bets in as I can this morning before everything starts to move. But yeah, glad to have you guys here. Let's have some fun. 12 game action on a Tuesday. A lot of, I don't know where you guys are. I'm in the Northeast. Steven, you beat me to it. A lot of weather, a lot of rain the past couple of days. Sunday, yesterday, today. Seemingly some issues around here. So at the very least, pay attention to it. I'll say this much. The good news is that a lot of these games that have potential weather are actually on the 6:40 or earlier, or it's part of these double headers between, Washington and Cleveland that got postponed yesterday. So there's actually not that much to worry about. You know, I think it could be a lot worse than it is. Let's put it that way. Yankees could be rough. That Yankees-Padres game managed to get it in. They did have a short delay in the 4th inning, but came back pretty quickly. Pitcher stayed out there, so that helps. And then Detroit and Colorado. Don't know what's going on here, which is tough because Chase Dollander's on the mound. And God, I was looking through his numbers today. Unreal. I mean, 500 ISO allowed to lefties on his 4-seamers so far. 19% barrel rate in Coors Field. And he's in Coors Field, I should say. So, yeah, we're going to be paying. I know you don't have to tell me. I know it's not warm in Coors. You know, it's actually quite cold. And I wouldn't be surprised if this game doesn't play at all. But if Chase Dollander's on the mound, I think we have no choice but to target him. Plus, you know, you can use Vegas to benefit what you're trying to do, right? You can use it to kind of gauge decision-making here. And while this total is not nearly what it would normally be, 9.5 run implied total, which is pretty crazy, right? No aces on the mound. You still have a 5+ implied total for Detroit today against the Rockies. But yeah, 9.5 at Coors Field in May. That is a low total, comparably speaking, to what we usually get. Seattle and Athletics, 10 run implied total with Emerson Hancock and Jeffrey Springs. It is actually amazing to see how much of a difference that park is making and how much the odds now and these books are beginning to catch up with it. You're talking about a 10-run total in an Athletics home game. It's crazy. 9 runs in that Angels Blue Jays game, 9.5 Colorado and Detroit. Pittsburgh and Cardinals, Skenes on the mound, 7-run total there. So actually a few totals that are pretty low. Everything else is sitting in that 8.5, 9.5 range. So we're here to break all of that down. And hey, if you don't mind, do me a favor. Take a single second, hit that thumbs up, atone for your sins this fine morning, and like the video. If you hate it, no worries, hit the thumbs down, but be sure to do it twice. And in all seriousness, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, always know when we're going live. Sometimes you get weird show times given that you've got these live before locks and strategy shows with these day games, the matinee games. Subscribe. It's free. If you hate it, we'll refund your misery. Unsubscribe. You never have to hear from me again, or any of us for that matter. And leave a comment down below. You got questions, comments, try and read and respond to all of them. At the very least, read them. Josh sent me. Good. I'm glad you're here from Josh. Yeah, I know he just got done the NBA strategy show, a couple of games today. How about Denver taking game 1 against OKC? Will this be the grizzled vets taking down the Utes? We'll see. I don't know. Well, let's get into it. Michael, what's up? Good morning, brother. Steven, good morning. All of you guys. Glad to have you here. Let's make it happen. Yeah, Steven, I was surprised they played as well. I was definitely surprised that they played. This is true. The Rockies are one of those teams that diligently wait very late before calling games, which can be difficult for all of us because they're not playing, a 7:00 game. But at the same time, I'm telling you, you can look at a radar closer to the game time You don't have to be the sharpest person in the world to see like, oh, you know what? This could be a problem. Plus, I'll do you one better. If it looks bad and they haven't postponed anything and they haven't called the game yet, it is still 45 degrees and it is still a 9.5 run total, which again, 9.5 runs is high, but it is low for Coors. It is an outlier total in a Coors Field game when you have Jackson Jobe and Chase Dollander on the mound, and it's still 9.5. What I mean by that is you have a 9, another 9, a 10 in that Athletics game, 8.5, 8.5, 8.5, 8.5, 9.5. So this doesn't stand out. If you're saying, you know what, fuck this, I don't feel like waiting just so the game can get postponed or suspended or any of that, or you know what, I get burned because there's a massive delay and whatever may be the case, right? This is not a 13 run, 12, 11.5 run total spot, 80 degrees in Coors, where if it wasn't raining, it would be a super favorable hitter park, or sorry, conditions. You know what I mean? So just keep an eye on it. It's 11 o'clock in the morning. We're okay right now. As of now, we'll plan on playing it. Maybe things change. Larry, hey, Laffy, you brought this up the other day. Said you had a call on it or something. Any thoughts on stack size this year? The devs are going to look at, Larry, I will get back to you. They just have to get back to me on that, but they do a lot of stuff like that on the back end. So let me see what I can pull up for you. Oh, Sotex, Josh says hi. Hey, Josh. I've already been talking to Josh today. Jake, knew my night was over. 2 batters into the Michaelis game. Oh, did you commit? Did you commit and go with Miles Michaelis? All right. Yeah, I mean, it's Miles Michaelis. It's not great. Also, Cole Reagan's clearly okay. Clearly okay. We got a decent game out of Boyd. We were looking for that game out of Boyd. Smith Shawver. When we ran this, our 3 highest exposed pitchers were Reagan's, Boyd, and Smith Shawver. So we'll take it. If you used the Sims yesterday, there's no doubt you were in contention. I had some really nice lineups in the $5 that faded late, but I saw a ton of Stokastic avatars up towards the top when I fell asleep. I don't know. We were on the right spots. It's just, you need all of the stars to line. Every piece of the puzzle needs to come together. Anyway, let's dive into it. Pull up the top pitchers tool. And of course, any of you guys ever want to get access to these tools, shoot me a DM over on Twitter at Laffy_D. You see my handle right there next to my, right next there, right to the camera, LOUGHY_D. Shoot me a DM. Anyone who did it yesterday, you guys already know. Hooked it up with a really nice promo to get in the door and feel good about this, knowing that you're going to be playing DFS every day, that baseball happens 7 days a week, multiple slates a day, sometimes like 5 or 6, and the Sims cover all of them. And the single lineup sim covers all of them. If you want a promo code, if you want to get in at a good price, hit me up. Just shoot me a DM. Say, yeah, Laffy, I was watching the show. Let me get in. Look, if you're willing to take the time to DM me because you want to try the tools out, I'm not going to be like, here, pal, you got 7% off Sims Max. Of course not. But I'll hit you with that code. Just DM me, hit me up during the show, after the show, anytime throughout the day. Like I said, for those of you guys that hit me up yesterday, it was worth the while, right? And you'll get a full month, a good sub with the Sims included and all these tools. So yeah, shoot me a DM. I'll get you that code. We'll hook you up. And we'll get you set up to know how to use these tools. Top pitchers tool, Chris Sale against Cincinnati. Shit, I mean, Smith Shawver had what? A no-hitter? What did he have? It going into like the 7th? Chris Sale, top 2 pitcher probability, 26% today. Looks good. Obviously looks good. You have him, you have Zach Wheeler against Tampa Bay in Tampa Bay, right? Steinbrenner Field, which is essentially the same dimensions as Yankee Stadium. Wind's blowing out at 5. That's not a big deal, but it is 86 degrees there. So, I mean, I think Wheeler's talented enough to limit the damage. You don't have to worry too much about that. 8-run total. Phillies minus 122 on the money line. But just keep that in mind. I prefer it to be in Philly today where it's not going to be all that warm. It's going to be kind of nasty out. Michael King against the Yankees. Pivetta was okay yesterday. What did he go? 5 innings, 3 runs, 5 Ks or something like that. He was cruising until he gave up that 2-run shot in the third. I guess you can't say cruising 2 innings into a game. But yeah, Michael King, 9,500. We got a ton of him last time we did this show in his last start. He was electric. It's a great pitcher. Obviously, you'd prefer him a little bit more at home than you would on the road. Strong righty, though. Yankees, despite the thing is, the Yankees can punish you, but also they strike out at a decent enough clip where if you're punching them out, you have a path. There is a path to a really strong game. And then Skenes at 10K. All right, let's talk about Skenes. And of course, you guys have questions, hit me up in the comments. We'll talk about it. We'll walk through all these guys. We got plenty of data sources and sites that we can use with free information to where we shouldn't have any questions once we're done digging into a few of these pitchers. Skenes is coming off a start. By the way, he's still 2-1 to win the Cy Young in the NL. Yamamoto plus 230. But Skenes is the highest priced pitcher on the slate at 10K on DraftKings. I don't want to say he got trashed last time out, but it was a objectively bad start. 5 innings, only 3 runs. He gave up 3 solo shots and walked 4 batters. Prior to that start, he had 4 walks on the season, and he had allowed 1 home run on the season. So let's be very objective about this, and let's try to be as logical as possible. Skenes, outside of that start, had allowed 1 home run on the year and had walked 4 batters through his first 6 starts. It was an off game. The Cubs have been annihilating really anybody that steps on the mound lately. I mean, this Cubs team is really just red hot. Outside of a couple games in that Phillies series, they've really been good recently. If Skenes is 10K and 15%, and Sale is 54%, and Wheeler's 39%, does Skenes not feel like the pivot here against St. Louis? And I'm not taking anything away from the Cardinals, right? We already know against right-handed pitching this year, they strike out at a low clip. What is it? I think it's like 18% or something. Yeah, 18.7%. Really low K rate. But Paul Skenes is still filthy, and he's getting 15% ownership. And when I'm looking for this, I'm always trying to figure out, hey, are there guys that make sense that aren't getting insane ownership, but are also extraordinarily good? I just think Skenes fits that. You know, he's only $300 more than Zach Wheeler. Wheeler's pulling 39%. Granted, the spot against Tampa Bay outside of the weather is really good, but Tampa has been better at home. Good park, particularly for lefties. And Chris Sale, if he's really 55% owned on a 12-game slate, I don't know, doesn't that just seem wild that a guy would be 55% owned on a 12-gamer? We can always get different elsewhere. Don't get me wrong. There's 12 games. There's some good teams to stack here. You have what? How many teams with it? Yeah, 6 teams with a 5-run plus implied total. Probably 12 teams at 4.5 or higher. I mean, just using really arbitrary numbers here, but you get the point. There's a few teams with good totals. To me, it just seems like that ownership is wild on Sale. And I know we're going to get him in the Sims. I haven't even looked at our exposure yet, but I can't imagine we don't get him. Where's the leverage coming from? Zach Gallen against the Mets. Gallen at home, no problems there. 8K, fine. He was great for us last time out as well. Andrew Abbott against Atlanta. 1% owned, but only 5% top 2 pitcher probability. Chad Patrick against Houston. Clark Schmidt against the San Diego team. I mean, they really don't strike out. Good value, 6,900. I think we could at least entertain it, but not a great spot. And we have to worry about weather there. It's not a great pitching slate. The one guy that I think we should talk about, and chat, tell me where you guys are at as well. So you've got a Phillies team that obviously has power. This is obviously a good park. All of this stuff is beneficial. Does Drew Rasmussen have any viability here? He's had a couple really solid starts on the year. He's $8,300. He's striking out 25% of batters he's faced with a 20% K minus BB rate. Like, on the surface, a lot of these numbers are really good. 2.74 FIP, 3.20 xERA. He has been good, right? Doesn't give up a lot of fly balls, isn't giving up power. 0.59 home runs per 9 on the year. Maybe there's something there. 6% barrel rate and a double-digit swinging strike rate. This isn't to say I'd be excited about him, but if he's getting 4% ownership, the reason I say this, and I know he's coming off a couple ugly starts against Arizona and Kansas City, but prior to that, he'd been good. The only reason I mention it is because, like, as someone that lives in the area and watches a lot of Phillies game, and Park scares me too, no doubt about it. The thing about the Phillies is this is the type of team that could go out there and put up 15 runs in 3 straight games and then get blanked in 3 straight games, like just 27 innings, no runs. They're an odd team. They're also a team that very much benefits from the long ball. So when they're not hitting for power, and of course you got a few guys in there now, particularly the bottom of the order, that have balanced it out a little bit, but they're still one of these teams that if they're not on, I hate to be like, oh, if they're not on, but it is true. That's just who the Phillies are. Amazingly, they're striking out at a much lower clip than they were in previous seasons. But yeah, one guy that I'm at least willing to consider. Who'd you mention? Dwayne? Laurie against the injured Angels team. Jays should be a decent stack. Eric Lauer. Gotcha. I was like, I don't know who Laurie is. Jeffrey? Eric. I mean, this is it's deja vu on the Michaelis conversation yesterday. You know, Eric Lauer's cheap. I'm not sure what else there is to say about him, honestly. I get, look, this is a guy that was wasn't he in the KBO last year? Yeah, in the KBO last year. Maybe it's not insane. It might not be as insane as Miles Michaelis. Maybe not. 22% strikeout rate for his career. 22%. Maybe it's not nuts. Michael Henry, the Phillies 1 through 9 is a powder keg. Yeah, it's also a powder keg that might not go off, though. Einsteinium, look at Arizona against lefties. Could Peterson be a sneaky spot? Let's look. You know, the one thing about Arizona, and I don't know if it's as true as it was last year, but against lefties, the one thing they did not do was strike out. Yeah, look, I mean, this is wild. This season against lefties, 15.8% strikeout rate, lowest in the league. Last year and this year against lefties, bottom 3 in K rate, 19.6%. So, you know, it's one of those things, Einstein, and you know this as much as I do, but if you're trying to figure out whether or not a team is viable, the first thing I'm looking at for pitchers is going to be strikeout rate. Because you could have a guy that goes out there and blanks them, but if he doesn't get the strikeouts, it's not what you need. Unless he can go like 7 scoreless with 3 or 4 Ks in the win, sure, that would be sufficient. But no, look, middle of the road in WRC plus, they are 16th, right in the middle in WOBA. They are probably towards the bottom in ISO, right? Yeah, so not a lot of power against lefties this year. but they just, I mean, they're not striking out. Lowest K rate in the league, around top 10 in walk rate. So, yeah. I probably don't. I personally don't look to get to Peterson today. I'd like to see that price come down a little bit more. Is Eric Lauer actually that crazy? That's the question. Is it? It's not a great park. The Angels have a 4.7 run implied total. He did throw 77 pitches last time out. Look, I think it's less crazy than Miles Mikolas. How about that? I think it's less insane than Miles Mikolas. Trout's on the 10-day IL. That's helpful. I mean, that's extremely helpful. They do have some guys who are banged up, right? Anthony Rendon hasn't played this year. Maybe it's worth considering. Are we getting any of them in the Sims? I doubt it, right? 15%. All right, 15%. Eric Lauer actually is our highest exposed value pitcher right now. Look at that. Let me go from salary. Kate Bovich, 5%. Lauer, 15%. I mean, I don't know if we're trying to get to these Detroit or Colorado pitchers at all. Clark Schmidt, 3%. Wisniewski, 1%. Colin Reyes, 6%. I actually don't think Colin Reyes is insane in this spot at 7,300 against San Francisco. Chad Patrick, 3%. Jeffrey Springs, less than 1%. That's what, one lineup. Zach Gallen. All right, so yeah, Eric Lauer right now is our value guy. And then our highest exposure goes to Sale, Wheeler, and King with 9% Gallen, 8% Pablo Lopez, 6% Colin Rea, and 6% Paul Skenes. The only thing I think I would like is to get a little bit higher on Paul Skenes. Do you have any guys? Do you guys have anyone that you're looking at and saying, all right, Sale is exorbitantly owned. Like, this guy's going to be super popular today, which nobody should fault anyone for playing Sale. Wheeler's going to be really popular. You know, you look at that, you're talking close to a combined like 100% ownership on those guys. We have Sale 4% in the pool ownership when we ran this contest sim at a generator, and 40% on Zach Wheeler. That's nuts. That is nuts. I think for me, it's probably Skenes at 10K. Not because he's cheap, because he's not. But because I don't think he's going to be all that popular. Man, if Sale or Wheeler had a bad game, Skenes could be a fast track to winning tournaments today. Steven, are people staying away from the Lugo matchup versus the White Sox? Well, I think what it boils down to is Lugo's 8,700, but maybe it's not an insane play. Do we have any of them? 2%. Let me see why. 3.9% implied total. He's getting 7% ownership, so he's not unowned, but he's not popular. It's just Sale and Wheeler occupy so much of the ownership on DK. Let's see on FanDuel. Sale 44% at 9,900. Wheeler 15%. Skenes at 10.8. So Skenes at 10.8. So 900 more than Sale and 900 more than Wheeler. Or sorry, 900 more than and 200 less than Wheeler is 6.9% on FanDuel. Michael King's getting 4%. It's actually crazy. We only have Skenes 6% top one pitcher. And on DraftKings, what do we have? Like 14% top two probability? Yeah. Technically negatively leveraged. SP2s are not great today. Not great at all. That's why I was saying, are we looking at are we overlooking certain guys? Maybe Lugo at 8,700 makes sense. But man, no one's going to want to get to Lugo at 8,700 when you've got Chris Sale at 88 and Wheeler at 97. That's got to be why. What about Liberatore? 8,200, 5% ownership. Clearly a good matchup against the Pirates. You don't want to have a repeat of Michaelis, but at the very least, Liberatore has a respectable strikeout rate. 22.3%. We can live with that, right? On the season. He's not walking anybody either. This guy has a 2.3% walk rate. It was heavily juiced to the over, but today I was looking at his walks prop, and it was 0.5. Usually it's usually 1.5. Some of them it's 2.5. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's great. Like, decent ground ball pitcher. The question now just becomes, is he worth it at that price point? But Pittsburgh has a 4-run implied total. That's what? Bottom 4 on the slate. Maybe we shouldn't be overlooking a 5% owned Liberatore. Plus, positive leverage, 1.8% leverage here. Pirates are not a good offense. 68 degrees. No real concerns there. It's not hot. It's not cold. Let me see something with this Pittsburgh team. 25% K rate this year against lefties. 7% walk rate. So top 5 in strikeouts, bottom 7 or 8 in walks. They have a 72% WRC plus against lefties. I may be talking myself into a little bit of Matthew Liberatore here. Where are they? 22nd in WOBA and 23rd in ISO. I may be talking myself into him here. At least a little bit. I don't know if it is a push, Michael. I mean, you could be right in saying that, Liberatore's not good and the Pirates aren't good either. But when you say he's not good, what do you mean? Like, he's not a bad pitcher. He actually never has been a bad pitcher. He's not Chris Sale. He's not Zach Wheeler. He's been good, though. You look at some of these games. 6 scoreless with 7 Ks. 6 2/3 2-run innings with 6 Ks. 6 1/3 he gave up 5 but had 7 Ks. 6 3 runs, 4 Ks. That's against the Angels. Last time out. What happened last time against Cincinnati? 3 innings. Was that the in-game delay? That was the delay. That's why he didn't come back. 42 pitches in 3 innings. I mean, he against Milwaukee, 6 innings, 1 earned, 4 Ks. He hasn't been bad at all. Matter of fact, he's been pretty good. I'd consider it. I don't hate the leverage there. I don't think he's going to be owned. I'd give him a little bit of a boost here against Pittsburgh. I really would. Especially given that outside of Chris Sale in this price range, who really stands out? You have Lugo, you have Liberatore, you have Gallen against the Mets, but that's a rough matchup for Gallen. Springs at 8,600. I'd play a little bit. And again, look, I'm not trying to funnel you into Matthew Liberatore. I'm just saying, if we're looking at a specific slate and saying, who are there any guys that maybe are going totally overlooked? I think he's probably one of them. Wisniewski, is that who you're asking about? All right. Are we getting any of him? 1%. Let me take a look here. Against Milwaukee, 4.3 run total for the Brewers. 4% ownership. I will say, this Houston team always has these pitchers come out of the woodwork. It's nice to see Lance McCullers back as well. But they'll pick someone up from elsewhere where he was okay, or they'll sign a guy for dirt cheap and bring him up and he ends up being fantastic, like these overseas guys. Yeah, I mean, you're gonna here. You know what? Let's look at it like this. I don't think we're gonna have any pitchers today outside of like the Sales and the Wheelers, and even Skenes has some warts, but I really don't think we're gonna have many pitching options today where there aren't some issues. There's no, Reagan's yesterday, you could have made an argument, sure, that the one issue was, he had that groin strain or whatever it was. But aside from that, like, that's as good a spot as you could possibly get. There's just no way you don't want to play Cole Reagan's against the White Sox, and he demolished them, right? Absolutely demolished them. You don't have that today outside of one or two guys, and even those guys at their ownership, it's a little wild. But okay, Pablo Lopez against Baltimore, he can go out there and crush, but it's still a spot that he could blow up in a bad way. Colin Rea, Chad Patrick, Hayden Wesneski, Michael King against the Yankees in Yankee Stadium, Rasmussen against the Philadelphia Phillies in Tampa Bay, Clark Schmidt against the San Diego team that doesn't strike out. I mean, I don't want to play Verlander against that Cubs team right now. Shit. Eric Lauer makes sense, but it's still Eric Lauer. Zach Gallen doesn't have a great matchup. They have a 4.9 run implied total. So yeah, you're you know what it is? You're just going to have to, I would say, spread exposure out to a bunch of these non-Sale and Wheeler pitchers as your SP2 and see what happens. That's what I plan on doing. Here's one thing that I like to do. Watch this. So if you're using the Sims, one thing that you don't have to, but I think is worth taking advantage of, especially like say you're playing a 20 max and you want to give yourself a chance for one of your lineups to kind of break away from the pack. What I will do sometimes is I'll go, let's say you could even do 7. I'll show you with 7 uniques, right? And then let's say we're playing a 20 max, 7 uniques, favorite top 20. Now what you should see, and again, 7's a big number on the uniques, but still, what you should see, and I like doing this on these larger sites, is you should see, at least to some extent, exposure get more kind of feathered out, right? So you still have a lot of Sale, but now you've got a lot of these pitchers in the 10%, 20, 25, 30% range. If I were to go back and say, let's go 5 unique with 150 lineups, let's see if it changes anything for exposure from where we were before. Make sure to take advantage of this stuff depending on your contest type. So Lauer comes up a bit. This one looks pretty similar, but it's especially effective when you're running like 20 lineups or 30, even 50 lineups or something like that. That's big. And again, guys, if you jumped in late, mind you, anyone wants to try the tools, use Twitter or X, DM me. My DMs are open all the time at Laffy_D. My handle's right there, LOUGHY_D. Hit me with a DM. Hey, I was watching the strategy show. Can I get that promo code to get in on at a good price to use these Sims tools, to use the single lineup sim, top pitchers, top stack, all that stuff. Post-contest simulator is massive. You should use that. You should use the late swap tool, even for baseball. Sometimes you're going to need it. You might need it with a lot of the weather we've had lately, or with guys getting scratched. Hit me up. Just shoot me a DM. I'll get you that promo. And anybody who hit me up yesterday, I said it earlier, they'll tell you. I'll give you a really good promo code to get in. So yeah, hit me up. All right. So doesn't change a ton. Try one more thing here. If we go to 6 uniques, does this change it? Does it spread it out enough to where now we've got still a lot of positive lineups, because the one thing you want to make sure of, I want to make sure that all of my favorited lineups are still going to be, positively simmed. I don't want to start getting into the negative territory, because once you get down here, look what happens, right? It starts spacing out a lot more as you run out. It looks like we should be good though. So let's see. Exposures, pitcher. There we go. Okay, so Chris Sale comes down. King comes up. Skenes comes up to 14. This is without me making any adjustments outside of selecting uniques here, right? That is it. Outside of me doing anything, Skenes went up from the 6% we had him before to 16% here. Lauer stays in that 18% range. A little more Pablo Lopez. And then a 4 or 5%. So I really like this. If you're playing the mini max or something like that, again, not telling you how to do it, but one way I think is viable is if you're playing the mini max and you're saying, you know what, I don't want this concentrated exposure on only a couple of different players. You can say, all right, if I select more uniques, what happens? All right, well, now it's not going to pull every single lineup. It's going to start pulling lineups that have more unique players in them. And then you'll start to spread your exposure out a little bit, and you start to get at least a bit more of these kind of tertiary options that you wouldn't have normally gotten to. And at least you have some exposure to them. If you're someone that prefers to just go all or nothing and be like, you know what, fuck it, I'm fine with it. 80% Chris Sale, 50% Wheeler, caution to the wind, let it ride. If these guys go off and a couple of my stacks hit, I'm in. Because then you've got a ton of lineups that are viable. On the other hand, and I don't mind doing it like this, I like the idea of giving myself, especially if you're playing 20 lineups and not 150, of giving myself the opportunity to have one that just breaks away from the pack. But it's just a personal preference. Steven, do you prefer to play with uniques versus exposure caps or boosting ROI? I like to do both and see what I'm getting, Steven. Like if I can go with uniques and not have to run any, boosts, right? And artificially boost their ROI. And I'm running these uniques and I know that all of these lineups are already, positively simmed within this last Sims run, then I'm very okay with that. Yeah. Because if you're boosting a player's ROI, technically you're artificially boosting the ROI of that lineup, right? Now, if you're setting exposure caps, that's a little bit different. You're still pulling positive ROI lineups. So it's all dependent on your preference. But I do like using uniques here. Get you a really interesting variety of exposures. Yeah. But again, do what you please. Steven, if your DMs are open, you must get some crazy shit there. You know what? It's a lot less as insane as you would think. A lot of times it's just super nice people reaching out to thank us or to ask questions. That's all it is. Sometimes you get a guy just flashing his hog to you and then you download it. But aside from that, you don't get that all that often, unfortunately. All right, let's take a look at some bats. Michael said, Steven, exposure caps lock you out of a good play sometimes. Yeah, I mean, again, it's a preference thing. I try not to go too crazy with it. I like the idea of getting a lot of uniques for baseball because it's such a high variance sport. Such a high variance sport. All right. Shall we look at the top stacks tool here? I love this tool. Top stacks tool is the best. Hit me up with a DM. I'll get you the code. We'll get you in. All right. So first things first. If you came in late and you're unfamiliar with the weather here, two spots that we should be concerned with. One, Yankee Stadium against San Diego. That could end up being a problem. I know we're going to get a lot of rain around me. I'm probably an hour and a half from there. Amazingly, they managed to get that game in yesterday. I did not think they would. Once it got closer to first pitch, though, I played that game, though, because it looked they were intent on doing it. But that could be a problem. Second game, the only other one that I have true concerns about is this Colorado game. Looks bad. Do they usually manage to play these games in Colorado? Sure, but I think the one difference is that in Colorado recently, it's been cold as shit on some of these days, right? And it's going to be 45 degrees today with rain. It's not good baseball weather at all. At all. Let me pull the radar up here. Let's see. It's still so far out that it probably doesn't make a difference. But yeah, play this one by ear. I'm not going to waste your time trying to figure it out right now. I'm just letting you know, because with Detroit, in this game against Dollander, who's been, terrible. I told you guys before the show, I was looking at this. Look at the ISO and X-ISO, expected ISO for Dollander against lefties this season on the four-seamer, which he's throwing a lot, over 50% of the time to lefties. 556 ISO, 487 X ISO, 536 WOBA, 474 X WOBA. Against righties, still bad. 426 X ISO, 511 X WOBA. And this cutter, Brooks Baseball classifies it as a slider. Who really cares at this point? That's also been getting touched up by righties. The changeup has been limiting power against lefties. But again, if you have to throw that four-seamer over 50% of the time and you're getting bent over every time you do it, it really doesn't look good. But the game has a 9.5 run total. So we know that weather is impacting the total in this game without question. All I'm saying, this dude has not been good. He has not been good, particularly against left-handed bats. So yeah, if they decide that they're going to get this game in, I'm happy to do it. Another reason, if they do it and it's an in-game delay, we're not playing pitchers from this game anyway, right? I don't think any of you guys are champing at the bit to play Chase Dollander. If you are, go for it. But I don't think so. Like Jackson Jobe, are we really trying to get to either of these guys today at Coors Field? So who cares? If there's a delay and the bats come back out, I mentioned this the other day in that Cincy game. Bats came back out. Reds ended up putting up 9 or 10 runs on the game. So I'm cool with it. But we have to know that they're going to try and play. If they are, I'm all about it. Athletics against Emerson Hancock. That's in the new Athletics, the temporary Athletics Stadium. That game has a 10-run total, the highest on the slate. Yeah, higher than Coors. Kansas City against Sean Burt. This is just implied totals, by the way. Seattle against Jeffrey Springs, Atlanta against Andrew Abbott, and Toronto against Tyler Anderson. Now, if you're looking at top stack probability, what you want to do if you're new to these tools, or if you're jumping into the tools today, by the way, if you hit me up, I'll shoot you over some tutorials and stuff that'll help you out a lot. Greg did some really good tutorials on the tools that'll get you started off on the right track and really shorten that learning curve up. You'll be building lineups for tonight's games. But top stack is Detroit, no question there. But still, 11% isn't that high, all things considered. Right? That's not that high. You still have an 89% chance of not being the top stack on this slate. So you certainly don't have to jam them. And their value score is really bad. Seattle is the one that stands out to me the most, because you've got a super high value score, a good park, 7.9% ownership, and a 10 stack score. Just looking at this, I can't imagine we're not getting to a good amount of Seattle right now. Oh, come on. Hold on. Let's see. Stack exposure. Seattle. Oh, okay. Interesting. Our most exposed 3-man stack is Seattle. Oh, I thought it would be 5-man. I really did. But look at this. We're not actually getting that many 5. We're not getting overweight on any of these. What happens if I go and I remove these uniques? Watch this. If I remove the uniques and then we end up just going 150 lineups, top down, no other, doctoring of this. Does that change? Yes, it does. See, 9% Seattle, 16% Kansas City against Sean Burke. Atlanta at 10% against Andrew Abbott. So that does make a difference. Makes a pretty sizable difference. In that case, I'd probably change my uniques a little bit to not be so spread out on my stacks. You know, you don't want to be so spread out to the point where you're not getting the really good stack options anymore either. I'd say as it stands right now, though, you're looking at, and I agree with this, there's nothing that really jumps off the page as wrong. Kansas City, Atlanta, Seattle, all three really good spots. The one that stands out a little bit, though, you've got this Toronto team on the road in LA, good park, no doubt about it, going up against Tyler Anderson. Say what you want about Tyler Anderson, but he's been good. Tyler Anderson has been good. He does allow some pop, no question. 6 home runs and 6 starts on the season? But he's not bad. I guess the question then is, like, does the other shoe drop at some point, or is Tyler Anderson actually good? Are there some underlying metrics that I'm missing on Tyler Anderson? Let's see. I don't think so, right? 3.63 xERA, 5.07 xFIP. That's actually pretty rough. 1.6 home runs per 9. Yeah, okay. You know what? 90.6% strand rate, 29.8% ground ball rate, and a 169 BABIP. We might be on to something here. Yeah, there might be something, because 57% fly balls this year. You know, it's entirely possible that Anderson is, in fact, getting pretty lucky. Wow. All right. Toronto starts to make a little bit more sense here. And my guess is a value score, they look pretty good too. No, not as good as I'd think or thought. But really, if you White Sox, Kansas City, and Seattle are just skewing all of that in the value column. But yeah, I can get on board with Toronto. Seeing that on Anderson, he definitely appears to have gotten pretty lucky so far. 57% fly ball rate at that Angel Stadium is not going to benefit him at all. At all. Pretty fun slate. And then you've got Angels on the other side of this game, who we're getting a decent amount of as well. Who? Hold on a second. Is Eric Lauer, let me see something here, confirmed? Is he confirmed to be pitching? Just want to make sure here, because I saw something that he might not be. It looks like it changed. Is it Urania? I think it is. So Eric Lauer might just not be. I don't think Eric Lauer is even pitching. They may have changed it. I don't know. We'll pay attention to it. We'll pay attention, because right now, do you guys have anything on that? It's Urania, right? Yeah, I think it is. Anyway, Sotex, I've played Anderson on a few slates so far, and I agree with you saying he's been getting lucky. Just waiting for that game where he totally melts down and goes negative. Yeah, seriously, this could be the spot. Jake, you said it's Urania? Okay. All right. It's tough sometimes, because I'll be doing a show and they won't have announced anybody, like officially, and then they do. But by the time our stuff is updated, you know. But that's okay. It appears we don't have to worry about Eric Lauer anymore. That's good. All right. Anyway, let's take a look one more time before we get out of here at ownership on stacks. Kansas City is popular. I don't think it matters, though. We're still going to get to a lot of them. Where is our highest leverage coming from? Still Kansas City, Atlanta, and Toronto, and Seattle. So you're getting well over the field on 5-man stacks here. Nice. Okay. Yeah, I mean, look at this. I really like Seattle today. I think Seattle's just that type of team that can blank you or they can annihilate anybody they face. And you know what? The only other team that I was surprised that we didn't get a lot of was the Athletics, because I think the Athletics are constructed similarly with that power. You know, feast or famine style bats. Anyway, appreciate you guys hanging out. Hey, if you don't mind, hit that thumbs up before you go. Goes a long way for me. Goes a long way. Take a single second, hit the thumbs up. I just did it myself on my own video. But yeah, you know, the YouTube algorithm tries to do us dirty sometimes. Goes a long way. But I appreciate you guys always hanging out. Hit me up down below, whatever. DM me if you have questions. And you want to get a promo. You want to jump in on these sims, on the single lineup sim for those of you single lineup builders or 3-maxers, top stacks, top pitchers, ownership, player project, literally anything you need for DFS. We have all of the best tools you're going to find. And I'll get you in with a great code at a good price so you can get started and feel good about yourself. In all seriousness, though, hit me up. I'm always happy to help with whatever it may be. And we'll see you guys back here for the next one. Peace.